My name is Evelyn Brooks. I am 34 years old, and I learned what my family truly thought of me from a hospital bed, with a newborn daughter at home and a plastic band cutting into my wrist. 6 weeks earlier, I had given birth to my little girl, Lily. I still moved like my body belonged to someone else. I still woke up every 2 hours to feed her. I still had that strange, new mother fear that if I closed my eyes for too long, the whole world might forget how fragile she was. Then, one rainy Thursday night, a delivery truck ran a red light on Kestrel Avenue while I was driving home from a late shift. I remember the headlights. I remember the sound of metal folding. Then I remember nothing until I woke up under white hospital lights with 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, a fractured wrist, and a nurse telling me to stay still because I had been lucky. Lucky. My husband, Mark, was in Portland for a work emergency, 6 hours away even if every flight landed on time. Our babysitter could only stay until 11. Someone had to go to our house and stay with Lily through the night. My mother lived 18 minutes from the hospital. Mark called her. She said no. Not because she was sick, not because she was too far away, not because there was no car in the driveway, or because the roads were closed. She said no because my younger sister, Chloe, was on a luxury cruise, and my mother had promised to check on Chloe's cat. A cat. My 6-week-old daughter needed someone warm and awake beside her crib, and my mother chose a cat. Then she told Mark the sentence that stayed in my bones longer than the bruises did. Chloe never has these emergencies. That was the moment. Something in me stopped begging to be loved correctly. What I did from that bed in the next 3 minutes ended 9 years of silence, 9 years of automatic payments, and $486,000 of my life quietly disappearing into a story my mother had been telling everyone but me. But that was not the part that broke them. The part that broke them came 3 hours later, when my grandfather walked into my hospital room carrying a cracked leather folder, looked at the cast on my arm, and said, "Your grandmother knew. She knew all of it." If you have ever been called the strong one until everyone forgot you were human, this story is for you. I want to start with the phone call, because that is where the old life ended. I came up from anesthesia in a curtained bay in the emergency room. My mouth tasted like plastic. My chest hurt so badly that even breathing felt like trying to lift furniture with my ribs. My right wrist was wrapped in a temporary splint, thick and heavy. My hair was stuck to my cheek. Somewhere nearby, a monitor beeped with the bored patience of a machine that had seen worse. A nurse was saying my name. "Evelyn? Evelyn, can you hear me? Your husband is on the phone." Mark's voice came through the speaker beside my pillow, calm in that terrifying way people sound when they are trying not to fall apart. "Evie, listen to me. Lily is fine right now. Tara is still there, but she has to leave at 11. I called your mom." I knew before he said the next words. I knew because my whole life had trained me to hear the shape of disappointment before it arrived. "She won't come," he said. Behind his voice, faintly, I heard the sharp, bright noise of a casino floor, the little electronic chimes, the fake celebration of machines pretending someone had won. My mother, Denise, was at Blackhawk Ridge with her friends. She told Mark she could not drive 18 minutes because Chloe's cat needed her. I did not cry. That is important. Not because I was not hurt. I was hurt so deeply that the pain went past tears and became a clean, white silence. But I did not cry because there was a baby in my house, a husband in an airport, and a body under a hospital blanket that could not move without help. I had spent my whole life becoming useful in emergencies. I knew what to do when everyone else panicked. That had always been my value. That had also been the trap. I asked Mark for the phone number of the licensed night care agency we had researched before Lily was born. We had never used it because I told myself family would help if something serious ever happened. I almost laughed at that from the hospital bed. With my left thumb shaking, I called the agency. A woman answered on the third ring. I gave her my name, my address, my daughter's age, the lockbox code, the name of the sitter inside the house, and the emergency contacts. I said it all in a voice so steady, the nurse looked at me twice. My daughter is 6 weeks old. She is healthy. I am the one in the hospital. I need a licensed overnight nurse now. 42 minutes later, a nurse named Amara texted me a photo of Lily sleeping in her bassinet, one tiny fist tucked under her chin. I stared at that picture until my vision blurred. The nurse beside me asked softly, "Do you have family coming?" "It's handled," I said. I had said those words for years. At work, at family dinners, during medical scares, during money problems, during Chloe's crises, during my mother's dramatic phone calls. It's handled. Back then, it meant I will carry it. That night, from the hospital bed, it started to mean something else. It meant I will not let you use this as proof that I can survive anything you refuse to do. After Lily was safe, after Mark boarded his flight, after the nurse checked my oxygen and left me in the blue dark of the room, I opened my banking app. There is a page called Recurring Transfers. I knew every line by heart. Mom and Dad support $2,000. House payment help, $1,100. Dad medical, $900. Chloe support $500. $4,500 on the first of every month. 108 months? 9 years. $486,000. I had never said the total out loud. Not to Mark, not to my parents, not even to myself. I had started sending money when I was 25, after my father called me sobbing about a hospital bill after a heart procedure. My mother said they were drowning. She said they were proud people and hated asking. She said I was the only one responsible enough to understand. That sentence had worked on me because I had built my entire identity around being responsible. I worked my way through community college, then a scholarship program, then a finance degree. By 30, I was a senior financial analyst at a national logistics company, the person executives called when the numbers did not make sense and someone needed to find the leak. Numbers were safe to me. Numbers did not sigh dramatically. Numbers did not tell relatives one story while spending another. Numbers did not make a daughter feel cruel for noticing she was bleeding. I pressed cancel on the first transfer. A small green check appeared. Recurring transfer canceled. I pressed cancel on the second. Recurring transfer canceled. The third. The fourth. 4 taps? Less than 30 seconds. 9 years of being the quiet bank of the Brooks family stopped in the same amount of time it takes to close a door. I expected to feel guilt. I expected some old chain inside me to pull tight. Instead, I felt clarity. Flat, cold, perfect clarity. Then, just as I was about to close the app, I scrolled back through the transaction labels under Dad Medical. I do not know why. Maybe some part of me had been waiting for a hospital bed to become brave. One line caught my eye from 2 years earlier. Loan C, $40,000. C for Chloe. Not my father's surgery. Not medication. Chloe. I locked the phone and listened to the monitor count my heartbeat. For the first time in 9 years, I let myself ask a question I had been afraid to ask. Where did all the money go? The easy version of this story would be to say I was foolish, that I was desperate for approval, that I was a grown woman who should have known better. But if you have ever been the dependable daughter, the calm sister, the one who always answers, then you know it is not that simple. I did not give because I thought they loved me more when I paid. I gave because somewhere along the way, I confused being necessary with being safe. If everyone needed me, surely no one would discard me. That is the lie that keeps strong daughters useful long after they are exhausted. My grandmother Helen had warned me in the only way she knew how. A year before she died, at Thanksgiving, She found me washing dishes while everyone else watched Chloe open gifts she had bought herself, with money she claimed came from brand partnerships. Grandma Helen dried a plate beside me and said, "Someone has to watch this family's money. Evelyn, your mother won't." At the time, I thought she meant I should keep helping. Now, under hospital lights, I wondered if she had meant something much sharper. Be careful. Look closer. Do not mistake generosity for blindness. Mark arrived at the hospital the next morning with dark circles under his eyes and Lily in her car seat. He set her gently on the bed, and for 1 minute, the whole world became small and holy. Her little mouth opened in sleep, her fingers curled against the blanket. I breathed through the pain just to feel her weight near me. Then my phone rang. Dad? Walter Brooks. 64 years old. Bad heart. Gentle voice. A man who could fix a lawnmower by sound but had spent 40 years pretending he could not hear what happened in his own house. "Evie," he said, "your mother told me there was an accident. I didn't know it was that bad." I closed my eyes. For 1 second, I wanted him to be brave. I wanted him to say, "I am sorry." I wanted him to say, "I know what she did." I wanted him to say, "I should have come." Instead, he whispered, "I never wanted you carrying so much." Then I heard my mother's voice in the background. "Walter, who are you talking to?" There was a muffled scrape, his hand over the speaker. When he came back, his voice was smaller. "Feel better, sweetheart? I should go." And he hung up. That was my father in one phone call. Almost brave. Almost honest. Almost enough. But almost does not change a diaper at midnight. Almost does not drive to a hospital. Almost does not protect one daughter from being used by another. That afternoon, Mark brought me my laptop. "Are you sure?" he asked. I told him yes. My right hand was useless, so I worked slowly with my left. I logged into every account I had used for family transfers. I exported 9 years of statements. I built a spreadsheet from a hospital bed with a cracked rib and a newborn asleep against my husband's chest. It was the first time in my life I investigated my family the way I investigated a company leak. And cell by cell, the story changed. The mortgage I thought I was helping pay had been paid from my transfers 10 times in 9 years. 10 out of 108 months. My father's actual medical bills, the ones with real providers and real dates, totaled about $65,000. Necessary, understandable, something I would have helped with even now if anyone had told me the truth. But the rest? The rest of $486,000 had gone somewhere else. I filtered cash withdrawals by location. Black Hawk Ridge lit up on the screen like a wound. Small withdrawals, repeated withdrawals, polite amounts, nothing dramatic enough to trigger concern by itself. $290,000 over 9 years, pulled out near the casino where my mother had been sitting when my daughter needed her. Then I traced the second stream. Chloe, $120,000 over 9 years. Monthly support, credit card rescue, a leased SUV, photography packages, travel deposits, a $40,000 loan hidden under my father's medical label. My little sister had not been building a brand. I had been building it for her. I sat back against the pillows as far as my ribs allowed and felt the world become very still. Pain is strange when it finally becomes information. Before that day, my pain had been a fog, a feeling, a suspicion I punished myself for having. But now it had columns. Dates, amounts, locations, proof. And proof changed everything. While I was building the spreadsheet, my family was building a story. By evening, the Brooks family group chat began flashing. My mother had written a long message to my aunts, cousins, and anyone else who might be useful as an audience. She said I had become cruel after a minor accident. She said I had cut off my aging parents while my father was sick. She said she did not understand how a daughter could be so cold. Then came the line that made me put the phone down before I threw it. We have always managed on our own. On our own. 9 years, $486,000. And my mother was still telling people she had managed on her own. Aunt Marlene replied first. Shameful. Your parents gave you everything. A cousin sent praying hands. Someone else wrote, family should never keep score. I looked at the spreadsheet on my laptop. I thought no. Family should not keep score. But when one person has been forced to pay the bill for everyone else's lies, someone eventually has to read the receipt. I did not answer the group chat. Not yet. Old Evelyn would have written a careful paragraph. She would have softened the truth. She would have said, Mom is stressed, Dad is sick, Chloe doesn't know, please do not blame anyone. Old Evelyn would have managed the feelings in the room, even from a hospital bed. New Evelyn had a spreadsheet. The next morning, my mother called. I let it ring twice. On the third call, I answered. Her voice was sweet enough to make anyone else believe her. Honey, how are you feeling? We have been worried sick. Worried sick. The woman who had heard my husband say I was in surgery and answered with a cat. I am recovering, I said. There was a pause. Then the sweetness thinned. I noticed the account didn't come through. Did the bank make some kind of error? There it was. Not how are your lungs? Not can I see Lily? Not I am sorry. The account. I told her there was no bank error. Silence. Then the guilt arrived right on schedule. After everything your father and I sacrificed for you, after every practice, every school form, every roof over your head, you do this while your father is sick? I let her talk. For years, I had treated her guilt like a summons. If she sounded wounded, I reported for duty. That morning, I listened the way I listened to a vendor making excuses for missing numbers. Then she said it again. Softly this time. Sadly. As if she were the reasonable one. You know, Chloe never has these emergencies. The sentence hit the hospital wall and fell dead. Because now I understood it. Chloe never had emergencies because Chloe had me. Chloe never had bills because I paid them. Chloe never had consequences because I stood between her and every sharp edge my mother refused to let touch her. I said, I know, Mom. Then I hung up while she was still speaking. I had never done that before. My hand shook afterward, but not from regret. From withdrawal. When you stop obeying a family system, your body sometimes mistakes freedom for danger. An hour later, Aunt Marlene texted me privately. Her message was exactly what my mother wanted it to be. I am disgusted. Your father is ill. Your mother is heartbroken. Your grandmother would be ashamed. Family takes care of family. Grandmother? That was the word that nearly got through. Helen had been the only adult in my childhood who saw me without asking me to carry something. She made coffee strong enough to stand a spoon in. She smelled like lavender soap and paper files. She could silence a room by removing her glasses. I almost defended myself. Then I remembered her voice at the sink. Someone has to watch this family's money. So I attached one page. Not all the statements, not the whole spreadsheet, just 12 rows. Total sent, $486,000. Verified medical, $65,000. Verified mortgage, $11,000. Blackhawk Ridge cash withdrawals, approximately $290,000. Chloe-related transfers and payments, approximately $120,000. Hidden loan labeled medical, $40,000. Under it, I typed one sentence. Here's where the money my mother says she managed on her own actually went. Ask her about Blackhawk. Then I sent it. The typing bubbles appeared. Stopped. Appeared again. Stopped. No reply came. That silence, was the first honest thing anyone in my family had given me in years. 3 hours after I canceled the transfers, on the night of the accident, my grandfather came. I had texted him 2 words before the medication pulled me under. We should talk. Grandpa Arthur did not text back. I arrived. I was 78, tall but stooped now, wearing a gray wool coat and carrying a leather folder so old the corners had turned soft. He walked into my hospital room with a cane in one hand and the folder tucked under the other arm, like it was heavier than it looked. For a moment, he just stared at me. The bruising on my jaw, the splint, the oxygen tube, the empty chair where a mother should have been. His mouth tightened. Denise said it was a little accident, he said. It wasn't. No, he said. I can see that. He sat down slowly and placed the folder on the foot of the bed. Your grandmother knew, he said. I turned my head toward him. Knew what? I looked at the folder. About the money. About your mother. About Blackhawk. About Chloe. Not every number. Not at first, but enough. The room seemed to tilt. Grandma Helen had known? Arthur rubbed one hand over the cane handle. Before she passed, she noticed your mother spending in ways that didn't match our family. New bags, casino lunches, Chloe's trips, things your father could not afford and your mother would never admit. Helen told me, someone is keeping Denise afloat, and it is not us. So I looked, quietly. Took me months. I'm old, not stupid. A laugh almost broke through my ribs. He tapped the folder. Helen ran out of time to confront her properly, so she did what Helen always did when people tried to lie around her. She put it in writing. I asked what was in the folder. I shook his head. Not tonight. You've had enough. But on Sunday, if your mother does what I think she will do, we will open it where everyone can hear. Sunday? Nye gave me a tired look. Your mother will call a family dinner. She likes witnesses when she thinks she can win. I was right. The invitation came the next day. A message in the group chat. Let's all gather Sunday to welcome baby Lily properly and clear the air as a family. Evelyn, I hope you will come with an open heart so we can move past this misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. The woman who chose a cat over my daughter now wanted to welcome the baby she had refused to protect. Mark read it and said, We do not have to go. I was right. We did not. I could have stayed home. I could have let the spreadsheet travel through the family slowly. I could have blocked everyone and healed in peace. But I understood what that dinner was. It was not a peace offering. It was a stage. My mother wanted me in a room where relatives could stare at my cast and still somehow decide I was cruel. She wanted tears and pressure and old family language. She wanted me to apologize for the discomfort of being robbed. She wanted an audience for my surrender. So I decided to give her the audience, not the surrender. I texted back, We'll come. Then I called Grandpa Arthur. He answered on the first ring. Quiet or true? He asked. I looked at Lily, sleeping against Mark's chest. I looked at the hospital band still around my wrist. True, I said. Then I'll bring the folder. The day before the dinner, Arthur came to our house. I had been discharged with pain medication, instructions, and the strange, exhausted gratitude of a person who has survived one disaster only to walk willingly into another. He sat at our kitchen table while Lily slept in the next room and told me the part I had never known. Your mother was not born this way, he said. I did not want sympathy for her. I was afraid of anything that might soften my spine. Arthur saw that and lifted one hand. Understanding is not permission. Remember that. Then he told me about my mother's childhood. Grandma Helen had been a hard woman when she was young. Fair, but hard. Denise had been the capable daughter, the one who remembered appointments, helped with books, cooked when Helen worked late, kept the house smooth so her younger brother could be admired for existing. Your uncle got the praise, Arthur said. Your mother got the chores. I stared at the table. I knew that role. I had lived inside it. "When Chloe was born," he said, "your mother saw a chance to be on the other side of the story. Chloe was loud, pretty, needy, impossible to ignore. Denise made her the princess because nobody had made Denise the princess. And when you turned out steady, careful, responsible." He stopped. "She gave you her old job." The sentence hurt because it made sense. My mother had not broken the family pattern. She had promoted herself out of it and handed the broom to me. I understood her better in that moment. And I was still done. That is something people often confuse. You can understand why someone harmed you and still refuse to stand where they can reach you again. On Sunday evening, we drove to my parents' house. The house sat on land my grandparents had owned for decades. I had spent 9 years believing my money helped keep that roof over my parents' heads. Now I knew my money had mostly kept my mother near a slot machine and my sister near a camera. I wore a loose black sweater over the bruises. My wrist was in a hard cast now. The hospital band was still in my coat pocket. I had peeled it off that morning, not because I was ready to forget, but because I wanted to carry it by choice. Mark carried Lily's car seat. I carried the diaper bag. Inside, beneath the wipes, was the single page. Grandpa Arthur arrived behind us, tapping his cane against the walkway, the leather folder under his arm. Through the front window, I could see them. Aunt Marlene on the sofa, 2 cousins near the kitchen island. My father in his recliner, looking 10 years older than he had sounded on the phone. Chloe scrolling on her phone, tanned from the cruise, annoyed to be somewhere without flattering light. My mother moving through the room with a coffee pot, already wearing the soft, wounded face she used when she wanted witnesses to mistake performance for pain. Arthur stopped beside me on the porch. "Remember," he said, "let paper do what shouting can't." I nodded. Then we walked in. The room went quiet. My mother turned, saw Lily, and immediately became theater. "Oh, my grandbaby," she cried, reaching for the car seat. Mark shifted it away gently. Her hands froze in the air. For half a second, the mask slipped. Then she turned to the room as if we had wounded her in public. "I am just so thankful everyone came," she said, voice trembling. "This has been the hardest week of my life." Her life. I stood there with a cast on my arm, broken ribs under my sweater, and a newborn my mother had refused to help, while she told the room about the hardest week of her life. She spoke for nearly 5 minutes. She said I'd always been sensitive. She said stress can make people lash out. She said she and my father had sacrificed everything for me. She said family money should not be used as a weapon. She said she had no idea why I was punishing them. Aunt Marlene kept her eyes on her coffee. Good, I thought. She had read the page. My father stared at the floor. Chloe looked confused, as if she had arrived at a play without knowing her lines. Then my mother turned to me with wet eyes and delivered the sentence one last time. "I just don't understand this cruelty. Evelyn, Chloe never has these emergencies." There it was. The line that had excused everything. The line that had made my pain inconvenient and Chloe's comfort sacred. The line she thought would make the room nod. Instead, it gave me the opening. I reached into the diaper bag, moved the wipes aside, and pulled out the folded page. I did not stand in the center of the room. I did not raise my voice. I simply walked to the dining table, unfolded the paper with my left hand, smoothed it once, and placed it under the light. "You're right, Mom," I said. "Chloe never has these emergencies. I would like to show everyone why." No one moved. Even Chloe put her phone down. "For 9 years," I said, "I sent this family $4,500 every month. The total is $486,000. Aunt Marlene closed her eyes. One of my cousins whispered, "What?" My mother's face changed, but only for a second. Then she laughed, short and sharp. "That is not what this is. You are twisting numbers." I touched the top row. $65,000 went to Dad's real medical care. I do not regret that. $11,000 went to actual mortgage payments. I do not regret helping keep a roof over anyone's head. I moved my finger down. $290,000 was withdrawn in cash near Blackhawk Ridge over 9 years. Small amounts, often, always close to the casino. The room inhaled. My father's face folded. I looked at Chloe. Around $120,000 went toward Chloe's expenses, including a $40,000 payment labeled as Dad's medical care. Chloe stood up. What are you talking about? Mom said that was family money. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw not a rival, not a princess, but a woman who had been fed a lie because it made her easier to keep useless. It was my money, I said gently. It was always my money. Chloe covered her mouth. My mother snapped. Do not speak to your sister like that. You have always resented her. No, I said. I have always funded her. There is a difference. The silence after that was complete. Then I took the hospital band from my coat pocket and placed it beside the page. A small gray loop of plastic. Ugly. Ordinary. Damning. This is from the night Mark called you, I said. The night I was in surgery and Lily needed someone. You were 18 minutes away. You chose a cat. My mother started crying then. Not quiet tears. Big, sudden, useful tears. How dare you humiliate me like this? She cried. After everything I did for you, after I gave you life, you bring papers into my home? This is not your home, Grandpa Arthur said. His voice was not loud. It did not need to be. My mother went still. Arthur stepped forward and set the leather folder beside my page. The folder made a soft thud that felt louder than shouting. He opened it slowly. His fingers were careful with the papers, reverent almost. Helen knew, he said to the room. Before she died, she knew something was wrong. She asked me to trace it. We traced enough. My mother whispered, Dad, don't. I did not look at her. Your mother spent her last clear months making sure Denise could not gamble away what Helen and I built. He pulled out a stapled document with a law firm's name printed across the top. This is the trust Helen and I created. The land, this house, most of the accounts. They are not controlled by Denise. They are not controlled by Walter. They are in trust for Evelyn and Lily. The room seemed to lose gravity. My mother gripped the back of a chair. You can't do that, she said. Arthur looked at her then, and the sadness in his face was worse than anger. We already did. The paperwork is clean. The attorney says it will stand. You and Walter may remain in the house for your lifetimes because your mother was kinder to you than you were to your daughter. But you will not manage the money. You will not touch Lily's fund, and you will not use Evelyn as your bank again. My mother looked at my father. Walter, she said, the warning inside his name. Say something. For 1 second, he lifted his head. His eyes met mine. Evie is right, he whispered. Denise, the casino, it got out of hand. My mother's head snapped toward him. The old fear crossed his face. And he looked down. That was all he had. A whisper? It was more than he had given me before, and still not enough to build a relationship on. My mother turned from fear to rage. I will fight this. I will get a lawyer. You cannot take a person's home. You cannot turn my own father against me. Arthur closed the folder. It was never yours to gamble with. Chloe was crying now, but quietly. Real tears, I think. The kind that come when the floor drops under a life you thought you earned. I didn't know, she said. I believed her. That surprised me. I had spent years resenting her, but in that room, watching her stare at the page, I understood she had been damaged too. Not the same way, not as deeply, but she had been kept childish because it served my mother to have one daughter needy and the other useful. Now you know, I said. That was all? I did not comfort her. I did not attack her. I let the fact stand between us and do its work. My mother was still talking. Threats, then sobs, then accusations, then a sudden soft, "Evie, honey, we can fix this. We're family." But her voice no longer reached the place in me where obedience used to live. That place had closed. I picked up the single page and folded it once. Then I placed a copy in front of Aunt Marlene. "You told me family takes care of family," I said. "Please make sure the family knows who is taking care of whom." Marlene nodded without looking up. I looked at my father. He looked old and frightened and sorry in a way that would probably never become action. I gave him a small nod. Not forgiveness. Recognition. Then Mark picked up the diaper bag. Grandpa Arthur took his folder. I lifted Lily's car seat with my good hand until Mark gently took it from me. We walked out together. My mother called my name from behind us. Once, twice, then louder. I did not turn around. Outside, the cold air hit my face and I realized I was shaking. Mark asked if I was okay. I looked at Lily asleep beneath her blanket, completely unaware that the world she would grow up in had changed because her mother finally chose her instead of everyone else. "It's handled," I said. And this time, the words meant it is finished. Here is what happened after. My mother called 2 attorneys. Both told her what Grandpa Arthur's attorney had already said. The trust was valid. The documents were clean. Helen had been competent when she signed. Arthur's testimony supported everything. The threats stopped. Not the bitterness, not the gossip she tried to start in small